Hi, my name is Marcos Puiggari, and one of my passions and hobbies is training bird dogs. I use homing pigeons in the training process. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what raising and training homing pigeons is like. In the process of training dogs, we have to use lots of birds. We use birds to introduce puppies to birds for their first exposure, and we use birds to help dogs become steady, which means they naturally point birds, but what we want the dogs to do is to stay put or stay on point. And one of the things that helps us to accomplish that is to use homing pigeons to work on steadiness. And the way we do that is we teach them basic commands as far as once they're on point, we tell them to whoa, and then we'll release a bird. When we use a homing pigeon, we can train anywhere within about 50 miles of our home loft, and that pigeon will fly right back home to its loft after we're finished. So we have a reusable source of birds for training. We also don't want to run dogs on wild birds while wild birds are nesting. So between March and about the middle of July, birds are nesting, they're raising their young, and we don't want to expose those birds to our dogs because we don't want to harm those birds or prevent them from those young birds from growing up. People have been using homing pigeons for many, many years, many generations. So it's a commonly used process. The trainer I learned from when I was a kid by books and also going to seminars was a trainer named Delmer Smith, and he was from the same area I was from in Oklahoma. So it's pretty easy. You buy a few homing pigeons and you put them in a loft. You build a loft that's proper for them, and then you allow them to start raising their young. Once the birds are old enough to start flying, we will allow the bird to start flying from its home loft, and then we'll incrementally take them further and further from their home loft, and they fly back to the loft. So we train them once the young birds are out flying around the loft. We'll help train that bird by releasing them progressively further and further from the home loft. I like watching them. I don't become attached to one particular bird. They're all important, though. I mean, I'm a veterinarian, and all animals are important, and life is important, and so we try to take very good care of the birds, and I enjoy watching them fly and try to make sure that the loft is kept clean, that they always have clean water and clean food available, and they always have grit. And I watch them closely to make sure.
Why do they need the grit?
Grit's important for them to digest their grain. So we feed them grain, which is usually a mixture of corn, milo, barley, and peas, and they'll eat the seeds, but they can't really digest them. They go into their crop, and then the grit, if a bird eats grit, it goes into their gizzard, and that's an organ that they have. It's part of the bird's stomach, and it's a muscular organ that helps to grind grain and help them to digest it. So all these birds, doves, pigeons, many types of birds require grit to digest their food. The most challenging thing is preventing illness in your loft. And so it needs to be clean, dry, with not a lot of breeze or a lot of wind blowing through your loft. They need a clean, dry place. And if you do get a disease that comes through, a virus, or they get diarrhea, that type of thing, you need to make sure to treat it quickly before all your birds are affected. The other things that are important is the genetics of, you don't want the loft to become too inbred. You need to introduce new genetics or new outside birds to your loft on a regular basis. Every couple of years, you need to bring a couple of new birds in. So when you do bring new birds in, you need to make sure that those are healthy birds, that they're not carrying any illnesses that could affect your flock. There are infectious viral diseases that we're concerned about, like avian influenza, that can wipe out your pigeons, just like it can wipe out chickens and other birds. All bird dogs can use pigeons, but I particularly, I train pointers, and I use them to train, I use the birds in my training process. So we use birds in several phases of dog training. One of the most common is to help build prey drive in puppies. We'll take the puppies out for walks, and we'll release pigeons while they're going out on walks. It gets them interested in birds. They start to chase the birds and get really interested in finding birds. Another way that we use pigeons in training bird dogs is for steadiness training, which means that bird dogs will go on point, and it's a natural skill that they have. So it's like a stalking, and then they freeze. And when they're smelling a bird, and then we'll use a pigeon or release pigeons because we want to extend that pointing instinct for them to hold until the birds are flushed, and then beyond that. So we want the dog not to break point until we release them. So the only way to do that is to use birds, and the easiest bird to use is a pigeon because it's readily available, and you have an endless supply if you have a homing pigeon, because you can use that bird for training, and you can come back the next day and use them again. There are pigeon races, but I don't compete with the birds. But I use the pigeons to help train my bird dogs, which I use for hunting, and I also use for field trials. And when you're working field trial dogs, you're training pretty much 3 days a week to 4 days a week, every day of the year, to try to get them ready for a few competitions that you have in the spring and the fall. So I compete in horseback field trials. Basically, it's an event. It lasts an hour. 2 dogs run against each other, and there can be as many as 50, 60 dogs in the competition. The dogs are judged on their manners on the ground, how they look, how they cover the ground, and their bird work. There's 2 judges, and they usually agree on who the top 3 dogs are. And there'll be placements 1 through 3. So in the state of Montana, there's about 4 to 6 events every year, and in the region, there's several more. And it's something that we train year-round to try to be able to compete on a yearly basis. There's a couple of things, advice to use pigeons. Make sure you have a good supply of pigeons, and you can find if you can find another training partner There's some of the training groups, like NAVDA has a training group if you have a versatile dog, or if you can join up with another field trialer and go in together keeping pigeons for that. Some people do use trapped birds for dog training, but the easiest way is by having your own loft and keeping homing pigeons. Field trialing and training bird dogs and having hunting dogs is a passion. It's something that you don't do a couple of times or a few times a year. You do it a few times a week. So you're constantly working and striving to improve with your dog. For me, the fun part of training dogs is that you're interacting with that animal on a regular basis, and it can be rewarding if you have a positive result. Like if you win a competition, you knew you did it yourself. So and you and your dog did it yourself. So the hard work can pay off, and it's just it's just a very enjoyable thing to do, to spend time working dogs. If you like working with dogs, if you like seeing bird dogs run, working with bird dogs is very enjoyable, and it's a great way to get out, to get some exercise, to enjoy the outdoors, and that's basically it. I've never really been driven by the competition or winning, so I hope to enjoy bird dogs in one way or the other for a long time, and I'll continue to train and work my own dogs. The most important thing working with bird dogs or dogs in general is to just always keep a calm, even attitude, and then working on the process on a regular basis over and over again, and keeping your emotions out of it, not getting angry, and being very even, not raising your voice, is very important. If you can be regular and steady and keep up a routine, you can accomplish a lot.